In a very distant corner of the world, there was a place called Elderwood Forest, where towering trees reached for the heavens, and the ground was perpetually shrouded in a mysterious silver mist. Deep beneath the roots of these ancient trees lived skillful and wise creatures, the gnomes. One fateful night, a small and nimble gnome named Pippin set out on a mission of grave importance. Strapped to his back was a tiny satchel made of aged leather containing the gnomish village's greatest treasure, the eternal spark dust. This magical powder was used only once a year during the great festival to bring joy and movement to inanimate objects. However, Pippin, being a bit impulsive, decided to take a shortcut through the northern ridge instead of following the well-trodden festival path. "It's just a shortcut," Pippin whispered to himself, swinging his tiny lantern. "No one will even notice I was gone." But luck was not on his side. Suddenly, thick black clouds swallowed the moon, and a torrential rain began to pour. Pippin's map became a soggy mess, and his lantern's flame flickered weakly. Just as the forest ended at the edge of a slope, he saw a cozy house with warm golden lights glowing from the windows. This was the home of the Miller family. "I just need to dry off for a moment," Pippin thought as he slipped through a cellar window that had been left slightly ajar. When Pippin entered the kitchen, he looked around in absolute awe. The entire room smelled of fresh flour and sweetness. On the giant wooden counter sat a massive mound of dough. Pippin's curiosity got the better of him. "I wonder what kind of food these giants eat," he wondered, climbing up the side of the counter. At that exact moment, two glowing amber eyes flashed from the darkness. It was Shadow, the resident cat. To Shadow, Pippin didn't look like a legendary gnome. He looked like a very interesting mouse. The cat rose silently, coiled his muscles like a spring, and lunged at Pippin. "Good heavens!" Pippin shrieked. He leaped backward in sheer panic. As he scrambled to hide behind a giant sack of flour to escape Shadow's sharp claws, the latch on his satchel snapped open. The shimmering, glowing blue eternal spark dust poured out in a glittering wave, landing directly onto the mound of cookie dough. Terrified by the cat, Pippin scrambled out the window and vanished into the dark woods, unaware that his satchel was now completely empty. He had left the treasure behind. The next morning, as the sun began to peek through the curtains, little Lily and her mother Clara entered the kitchen with bright smiles. It was cookie day. "Mom, look!" Lily exclaimed, peering closely at the dough. "It's like there are tiny stars trapped inside the dough. They're sparkling." Clara smiled warmly. "Maybe we just used a little too much sugar this time, sweetheart." Together, they began cutting the dough into shapes. Lily carefully crafted the largest gingerbread man of all. She gave him 3 shiny silver sugar buttons, big eyes made of raisins, and named him Oliver. The cookies went into the oven. However, once Pippin's eternal spark dust felt the heat, its true power began to awaken. Strange whistling and humming sounds began to echo from the oven. Lily pressed her face against the glass and gasped, "Mom, Oliver is dancing!" The oven door rattled open, and Oliver, with steam rising from his ginger-toasted feet, hopped down onto the counter. He was no longer just a snack. He was a living, breathing gingerbread man. But Oliver was terrified. Seeing the giant figures of Lily and Clara, he let out a tiny "whoa" and bolted, hiding behind the dishwasher. Outside, hidden behind a rose bush just beneath the window, Pippin was watching everything. He was devastated. "Oh, Oliver," the gnome sighed. "I created you by accident, but I have to catch you. I must take you back to the forest before the magic fades, or you'll turn back into a stiff, lifeless biscuit forever." Pippin's intentions were kind. He wanted to save Oliver's life, but Oliver felt utterly alone in this world of giants. Lily tried to befriend him, placing a tiny bottle cap filled with water near his hiding spot, but every time she spoke, Oliver retreated further into the shadows. One night, Lily noticed how sad and lonely Oliver looked. Maybe if he had a friend, he'd stop hiding, she thought. The next day, she spent hours crafting a beautiful gingerbread woman. She gave her a dress made of pink frosting and hair made of strawberry sugar strands. She named her Rosie. That night, Pippin sneaked back into the kitchen and sprinkled the very last pinch of dust from the bottom of his bag onto Rosie. When Rosie opened her eyes, Oliver finally emerged from his hiding place. Rosie was so graceful and kind that Oliver's silver buttons clinked together from the excitement of his heart. For the first time, Oliver forgot his fear. He walked up to Rosie and they tentatively held hands. Their happiness was short-lived. Shadow the cat still viewed these two moving treats as a late-night snack. With a low growl, the cat leapt onto the kitchen table. Oliver and Rosie began a desperate run for their lives. Pippin jumped through the window. "Come here, little ones," he shouted. But Oliver and Rosie thought Pippin was just another hunter trying to catch them. In the middle of the chase, a sudden draft from the open window blew Rosie towards the sink, which was filled with soapy water. Oliver lunged and caught her just in time, but as he held on, one of Oliver's legs began to soften and crumble. "Don't let me go, Oliver," Rosie cried. It was a moment of true drama. If Oliver didn't let go, he would dissolve too. But Oliver gripped her tighter. "I will never let you go, Rosie," he declared. Just then, Pippin threw his miniature silk rope and pulled them both to safety on the dry counter. Pippin scooped them both into his palms and hurried outside. Oliver and Rosie looked up at him, trembling. "Why did you catch us?" they asked. Pippin explained, "If you stay in this house, when the magic runs out, you will become nothing more than a snack. But in our village, by the enchanted spring, you can live forever." Oliver turned back and looked through the window one last time. He saw Lily standing there, crying because her favorite cookies were gone. Oliver paused. "That little girl loved us, Pippin. To her, we weren't just cookies, we were friends. Isn't it more meaningful to stay where we're loved, even if it's risky, rather than living forever in hiding?" Pippin was deeply moved by Oliver's words. Gnome laws were strict, but the power of love was stronger. "I won't take you away," Pippin whispered. "I will make an exception, but I promise to bring you fresh spark dust every year during the festival to keep your magic alive." The next morning, when Lily woke up, she looked at the dollhouse on her shelf and saw Oliver and Rosie sitting on the tiny porch holding hands. They weren't hiding anymore. Lily beamed with joy. Far off at the edge of the woods, Pippin watched them and waved a tiny hand. This tale teaches us that a real life is not measured by how long you live, but by whose heart you touch and who loves you in return. Oliver and Rosie chose a happy life where they were cherished over an eternal life where they were alone, because being held in someone's heart is the greatest magic in the world.